Have you ever heard of the term sacred activism? It was coined by British author and religious scholar Andrew Harvey. And the definition of sacred activism is the coming together of spirituality and activism. It's activism that comes from the heart, activism that is compassionate and kind and positive. It can be fierce, but it's not about being against something. It's about being for something. It's embodied by the quote from Mother Teresa, who, when asked why she wouldn't attend an anti-war rally, said, "When you have a pro-peace rally, I will be there." So sacred activism is a way to channel our desire to make a difference in the world in a way that is kind and creates solutions and doesn't add to the problem. Hi, I'm Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we share knowledge and tools to create your ultimate life. So where do we start when we're feeling like nothing makes sense in our world anymore? Sacred activism is having a passion for justice, but not just talking about it with our friends and talking about how bad everything is, but taking action, doing something, or as they say, putting your money where your mouth is. When we do that, we experience a rebirth in our own souls, and we feel like we really make a difference in the world. And when we do that, when we put our heads down on our pillows for our final breath, we'll have the peace of knowing that we lived a life worth living. And many are waking up to the fact that injustice and racism and religious or cultural or lifestyle intolerance or things like climate change or inhumane immigration policies or attempts to undermine democracy throughout the world aren't just going to go away if we complain to our friends or shout at the TV. But the exciting thing is that there are so many people who are waking up and wanting to make a difference, and there is strength in numbers. And we are all in this ship together. And if it goes down, we're all going down. But if we do our part to lift it up, we will all be lifted. Remember the words of cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So would you like to be a part of that small group? If your answer is yes, what I recommend is to simply do something. Do something even every day. Just stop talking and start doing. Stop being depressed and scared about what's going on and just slap yourself upside the head and say, snap out of it. Wake up. The world needs your contribution. So do something. You have to start somewhere other than cringing at the news and feeling helpless and talking to your friends about how helpless you feel. The great teacher Byron Katie said, "There is no access to transformation inside that kind of conversation." Just find a way to use your God-given talents. Do you love children? Volunteer at an after-school program where you can help kids with their homework. There are children whose parents have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. These kids need you. Are you a visual artist? Find a way to help kids who are survivors of abuse express their emotions through art. Do you feel the agony when you hear about a young man of color being incarcerated for years for being falsely accused of stealing a backpack? Become a big brother or sister and form a relationship with one of these young kids and be their advocate when there's no one else to advocate for them, so that tragedies like what happened to Caliph Bouders, you know that story, never has to happen again. If he had someone to advocate for him, he'd be alive today. Or volunteer to take kids to an amusement park or the zoo or the planetarium, or teach them meditation or how to express themselves through improv. Whatever is your passion, use it for good. You can also engage in sacred activism by just stopping excessive consumption. Make your smaller carbon footprint. Ride a bike. For 1 year in 2015, every time I had the impulse to purchase something that I didn't really need, like another cute shirt or a cute pair of sandals, I stopped and I put the money in a fund. And at the end of the year, I donated thousands to charity. And I was no worse for the wear because I did not need another cute shirt. And when you do these things, you feel so good about yourself, and that joy radiates and you inspire others, and the ripple effect never ends. And I know some of you are wanting to do something bigger, maybe even go down in history like a Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Colin Kaepernick or Susan B. Anthony. You know, I actually love the story of Susan B. Anthony. Do you know the whole story about her? She's one of my heroes. She was born in 1920 into a family of Quakers, although she left the Quaker church because of its restrictive lifestyle. And then when she was only 17 years old, she collected anti-slavery petitions. And at the age of 28, she started to organize around equal pay for equal work for women. I mean, we're talking 1848. She's organizing for equal pay for equal work for women. And now what are we? Almost, what is it? 200 years later, and we're still working for equal pay for equal work for women. And from there, she devoted her entire life to sacred activism. In 1872, she was actually arrested for voting and convicted at trial, convicted for voting. And she refused to pay the fine non-violently, and she stayed in jail. And then in 1878, a senator from California presented an amendment giving women the right to vote, known as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment. But it wasn't ratified for another 42 years. 42 years. When in 1920, 14 years after her death, it became the 19th Amendment. I know we'd like to do something really impactful like Susan B. Anthony or, Rosa Parks or Gloria Steinem or Stacey Abrams or Malala, but not everybody has the karma to go down in history. But it doesn't matter. In the Talmud, it says, whoever destroys a single life is considered by scripture to have destroyed the whole world. And whoever saves a single life is considered by scripture to have saved the entire world. So start with a single life. But one thing you can't do if you want to go down in history is sit and watch Netflix all day and drink Diet Coke or play itself. My favorite quote from Susan B. Anthony goes like this. I have it here. This is a good one. Cautious, careful people, always casting about to preserve their reputation and social standing, can never bring about reform. Those who are really in earnest must be willing to be anything or nothing in the world's estimation, and publicly and privately, in season and out, avow their sympathy with despised and persecuted ideas and their advocates, and bear the consequences. Wow. So sacred activism that comes from the heart, activism that is compassionate and kind and positive, activism that's not about being against something, but being for something. And it's activism, not passivism. So what are you going to do today? Just asking.